Hetepu. My name is Jabari Osaze, and this is Ancient Wisdom Daily. This Thursday, I figured we'd talk about learning how scale, learning how measure is important in our lives. And perhaps one of the most adroit descriptions of it comes to us from the ancient Kemetic, ancient Egyptian book of Phebhor. So Phebhor actually says to us, if a beam is longer than its right measure, the excess is cut off. If the wind blows right against this beam, it may wreck the entire ship. Those who apply the right measure in all good things are not blamed. The creator of just measure has created a balance in order to establish right measure on earth. And this we know is called, by the ancient Kemetic people, Maat. He placed the heart deep in the body for the right measure of its owner. Thus, if those who are learned are not balanced, their learning is of little use, and a fool who knows not balance does not escape misfortune. Pride and arrogance are the destruction of their owner, but those who are gentle in character create their own fate. Now, there's a lot that actually Phebhor is telling us here, but I think that part of the imagery he's using about this beam, and think of the fact that the ancient Egyptian, the ancient Kemetic people were people who did a lot of sailing along their great river that is today known as the Nile, that they called the Hapi. And so he continually talks about having a beam that is the right measure. We know that if a mast to a ship is too tall, or is made out of the wrong wood, and the correct wind goes against it, it will break, and the whole ship will actually sink, destroying all of its cargo and perhaps even killing those who are sailing amongst it. And so he actually says that we have to learn to deal with gradient. I often talk to youth, and I often say that one of the great attributes of youth is the fact that they believe that the world can be fixed today. And certainly those of us who are a bit older think that we should wait to deal with all those things. And certainly there's a lot that should be learned from both groups. But one of the things that I tell my young people often is that they have to learn how to deal with things in gradient. How many times have I dealt with arguments or fights amongst young people where someone said something wrong, and so then it becomes a fight? And I have to say to them, because someone says something to you, it doesn't mean that you should actually attack them physically. What I'm trying to teach them is that there's always an appropriate action to deal with the situation. And that when we do things that are out of scale, we actually create situations that are very difficult to undo. And so this is the kind of thing that Phebhor is trying to tell us about when he talks about dealing with the right measure. And of course, then he resorts to the concept of the scales, because he's talking about the fact that the world exists in a balance. And this balance, according to the ancient Kemetic people, was called Maat. I think it's very interesting that they chose a scale, a balance to describe this, because you'll know if you've ever dealt with this type of scale, this balancing scale, it sometimes seems like it's out of balance until it finally goes into balance. And I think one of the reasons why they use this imagery is because they know that sometimes things get out of balance. And our task is then to set the scales right. And the only way you can do that is by learning that there are appropriate actions for each situation. You have to learn to deal with things in the proper scale and the proper measure in order to right the scales. This has been Ancient Wisdom Daily with Jabari Osaze. Would you like to receive these gems of wisdom in your inbox every day? Go to our website and subscribe. Thank you so much. Hetepu.